Hi.
Okay, so this is really goofy because this is truly my best friend in the whole wide world. And, and we have been around each other since I was 13.
I don't understand why you had to say I, like no one would know who you...
Because normally I say, she's been my best friend since I was 13, and she would say, no, I wasn't your best friend.
Okay, so that's right. I understand now. Because you would say we were best friends. I'm like, but we weren't. You were the weird girl who kept following me around.
Right.
That doesn't make us best friends.
Because I knew we were going to be best friends. And so now all these years later, I was right. We are best friends.
Oh my God, you were right and I was wrong.
Yes, yes. And so, you know, my best friend in the whole wide world is a genius, and I'm just honored that she's here, that she has supported me all these years, and you'll hear me mention her in my book because I feel like she's always kept me very grounded by looking at law enforcement from a non-law enforcement perspective. The work that she does is so different than what I do, and she never ever allowed me to get so far into a space of keeping things siloed. She wanted me to look at the whole world all the time. And I'm grateful for that because I feel like it enhanced my career to look at things from a very holistic place, from a community-based place, and from a place of, well, how would you feel if that happened?
I think, you know, I think in any career, if you are really trying your best to be the best at it, you can get really ensconced in it, right? And just know, you know, what you know about that, and sometimes find it hard to bring in other sensibilities because you're in it. You know, with my students, I also try to teach them empathy and the difference between empathy and sympathy, and you know how with empathy comes in care and concern. And so you show, you know, concern by asking a question so that you don't just assume.
Right.
You know, that it's so easy to do that, especially if someone cuts you off or something. You're just like, why would they do that? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you can ask them the question, you know, hey, you're going kind of fast. You know, you want to talk about that. So it's a question.
Right.
And then concern for what the answer is that you get back.
Right.
That's the difference, you know, between sympathy and empathy. And we all want to try to be more empathetic people, you know, if we are to put ourselves in someone's place, and then suddenly you're not as angry, or you can deal with them in a way that feels like we're just two human beings talking.
Right. And I guess the whole world needs more of that at this point. But it helps us all to respond differently. But you said something that I feel like I've heard from so many community members that I've spoken to. Ask the question and do it with care. When there's a tragedy between, you know, a law enforcement has killed someone's family member, and how we talk about it, how we talk to them is part of what our law is asking us to do, to take care. And it's interesting, it's so interesting that you said that, because I've gotten to know so many of these families, and I like them so much. And every time they say, what they say is, we want everyone to go home at night safe, the police and our family members. And I really appreciate that, because they're people with loss. They're people that are hurt and angry, but they're still saying, you know, we don't dislike the police. We don't hate the police. We just want change in how things are done. And we're also practicing trauma-informed interviewing techniques and teaching that at the Criminal Justice Training Commission. And they want it to spread across everything. You know, so it makes a big difference. So you saying that, you know, asking questions with care, that's really important.
It really is. You know, if you ask questions and you really care about what the answer is, then that can inform, you know, how you respond to the answer. And it's often that doesn't happen.
I talk to classes about it now, but I don't ever remember anyone telling me that every contact with a police officer is memorable. Because I know anytime I did something social outside of work, and someone would say, well, what do you do for a living? And I would almost dread it. Because if they were going to tell me a story about either a good or a bad story.
But it's going to brings something for everyone that's very visceral. Even if you know you're not doing anything, if you see a police car, you're like, oh,
Right.
Just driving and listening to music. But there is that.
But we have to be aware of that. Mm-hmm. That's
the people
the
are already
most important.
Like this. Mm-hmm. Most people are law-abiding citizens.
Right.
And so, but yet we all have that, that moment of tension, even if you know you're not doing anything.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I even think people that speed are law-abiding citizens.
Yes.
I just think that
at the moment.
Right, at the moment they're like, I just need to go fast, or I'm not thinking about it, or,
yes.
right?
Yes.
All of those things. So we can't act like, something terrible just happened and something normal just happened.
Yes, yes.
And I think that's learned behavior as well.
Yes.